Hi, this is Lisa Hastings. Stephanie Turner and I went to the AICPA National Conference in Washington, D.C. just before Christmas. We enjoy attending this conference because it gives us the opportunity to listen to some of the top speakers in this industry, like the head of the DOL and some representatives from national auditing accounting firms. And we thought we would bring back our highlights from the conference. Stephanie, go ahead.
Well, what we're really hearing from the DOL, Phyllis Borzi's the Assistant Secretary, and Ian Dingwall, the Chief Accountant, the hot buttons really seem to be about educating plan participants. The focus for 2012 is really on transparency. And I guess the biggest concern on Capitol Hill this year is that people are approaching retirement and they no longer have the defined benefit plans administered by companies. They really have no idea how to plan for their retirement. So with the trend moving away from the employer-sponsored DB plans towards more of the DC plans, we see that there's the distribution of lump sums, and unfortunately this causes employees to not have their dollars and their savings last throughout their entire retirement.
Pretty scary. I had also heard them say that IRAs, there's more money in IRAs these days than there are in all of the employer-sponsored pension plans, and the IRAs are much, much less regulated.
Well, and I think we're also seeing in surveys is 46% of people that are expected to retire are expected to delay their savings, and 34% of those people have not even begun their savings, and those are people who are coming up for retirement over the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Another hot topic that Ian and Phyllis talked about really was fee disclosure. Now, this can be useful to our clients in benchmarking. You know, we can see as we audit plans and there's information available what type of plan asset range you're in, whether it be the $1 million to the $10 million, and really understand what nationally service providers are actually charging as far as fees go, and kind of give you guys an idea of, you know, if you're in the range, if you're above the range, or if you're doing good or not. So these are some of the benefits that fee disclosures are going to have for you guys in the future.
I remember seeing a bar graph talking about by levels, by various classes of sizes of plan assets, what the range of fees that should be expected. I think that'll be very useful as plans want to maybe bid out their investment or other service providers.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the areas that I thought was really interesting was there was a tax session looking at some of the tax aspects of plan administration, and the speaker talked a lot about forfeitures and making sure that they're allocated on an annual basis. So you can expect your auditors to be looking for this, and the DOL actually looks behind on this as well, that you shouldn't be just letting your forfeitures build up in a plan. You should be getting them paid out or reallocated. Not paid out, reallocated. There was also a session on compliance issues in plans, and what the speakers said they see most often in non-compliance is a misinterpretation of compensation. They talked about bonuses, tips, commissions not being properly addressed in how that applied to compensation for the plan, and also talked about whether severance is actually compensation in relation to the plan, and that's something to be attended to as you're looking at the plan administration side.
Something as we're moving forward and beginning to embark on the new season, employee benefit plan season, audit season, is the SAS 70, or what is formerly known as the SAS 70, and that is now considered the SOC 1. So this way, everybody, you know what to ask for. You're no longer asking for the SAS 70, you're going to be asking for the SOC 1 from your service organization. And just a quick bit of history, it was originally intended as auditor-to-auditor communication, but unfortunately, over the years, service organizations have started to utilize this as promotional materials. So the AICPA came out with 3 reports, the SOC 1, the SOC 2, and the SOC 3. The SOC 3 report is really something that reports on controls related to operations and compliance with the service organization. So good to have for your files, but not necessarily what your auditor is going to be asking for. They're going to be asking for that SOC 1 Type 2. Also, what we did note was, let's see, what was this one?
4 and 7.
4 and 7. Something else that we wanted to touch base on that I found really interesting is the regulations over the years have gotten more strenuous for the clients as well as for the auditors. And what we're seeing, really, the regulations are intended to do is to have management truly have an understanding of what they're investing in for their participants. Again, we see this importance and this stress on education of participants and education of management. We too, as auditors, are finding that we have to be more knowledgeable as well. So what you're going to find is that responding to your auditors with, oh, well, we only invest in funds that meet certain criteria, or, all my assets are level 2 assets. Those aren't necessarily going to be answers that your auditors are going to be okay with. They may dig a little bit deeper simply because of the regulation requirements that we're held to now.
And one of the last things that, one of the last sessions we heard before the end of the conference was a session designed around trends in employee benefit plans, which is really one of the things that we attend these level of conferences for. Few interesting tidbits out of there. There was a study showing that overall investment return in professionally managed funds tends to exceed individually managed assets like IRAs by 100 to 200 basis points. And I thought that was a significant net gain to employees and a real incentive for them to participate in employer-sponsored accounts. They also talked about, through this recession, how much rating has been going on of employees' retirement assets through legitimate fashion, but really resulting in them having much less assets preparing for their retirement through things like with hardship withdrawals, loans, and planned distributions if they're terminated rather than rolling the assets over into IRAs. And throughout the surveys, what they were finding was a greater importance being placed on retirement plans and planning by the employers than by the employees, which is very discouraging for the employers, and the DOL is not real happy about it either. But I think what we're seeing is that the employees just are not putting that level of importance on it, and sort of kicking the ball down the road, if you will. In defined contribution plans, there's definitely a trend towards life cycle or target date funds, and definitely the increased disclosures are a trend. The DOL has a good website, has good information on their website about fee disclosures that can be very helpful to plan administrators. And definitely there's a divergence between what employers are willing to commit to retirement assets and what the DOL wants to see. Only about 20% of all employees have access to defined benefit plans these days, and the idea that people will not have enough money to retire is of great concern, and no answers forthcoming on that. I think that's probably the best. There was certainly some discussion throughout the conference and the trends about timely remittance of contributions, especially employee deferrals and 401k plans. Need to, saying that the DOL was saying you need to pick a standard within the acceptable time frame and stick with it. Don't vary from that causes a great deal of concern on their part. I think those are probably the highlights. Steph, do you think we've hit it all?
I think we've covered pretty much the big guys.
Good.